Welcome to the Liberated Investor Advantage Podcast with your host, Doug Alden. In this podcast, we help you deal with and understand the uncertainties of investing and financial planning. Join us for this journey as your host, Doug Alden, teaches you how to move forward, no matter what life or the markets throw your way.
Hello and welcome to the Liberated Investor Advantage with Doug Alden. This is Doug's inaugural podcast, and so this is where you get to know about him both professionally and personally a little bit. I've got a bunch of questions I'm going to ask him, but first I need to welcome him to the show. Good morning, Doug. How are you?
Good morning, Eric. I'm ready to go. Feeling really good about this and anxious to get going.
Awesome. Sounds great to me. All right. So the first questions are kind of on the business side of things, and then we're going to get into some personal questions. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
All right, here we go. So first question really is, how did you make the decision to get into this industry? And just tell us a little bit about your history.
Sure. The decision was actually made for me. I dropped out of college and ended up getting married, got drafted, spent 3 years in the service, came back, went back to college to finish up my degree. And so my wife and I decided to move. That was in Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo, Michigan. So my wife and I decided to move to Florida, and I was working in the retail industry. And as luck would have it, I got fired, which is always really exciting when you have a wife and two boys.
Exactly.
So that was right in the middle of the Nixon recession era when he was resigning from the presidency, and there was a tremendous recession going on. Mm-hmm. Well, the financial industry was the only people that were paying money and looking for people to come to work. So I started in the health insurance business down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, several years ago because they would pay me a salary.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of slowly took the natural course. You know, you take some courses, you get more educated, you graduate to life insurance, and then I finally got a degree in kind of estate planning. So we did all that sort of thing, and slowly but surely I added property and casualty, and eventually the whole system of investing, integrating, coordinating, all those financial decisions that need to be made. And then, unfortunately, that marriage didn't work. So once my boys had grown up and gotten college pretty much taken care of, my now wife, Jean, and I decided to move to North Carolina. So we moved to North Carolina, and I just opened a money management business to begin with. And so that's how we got here. It's a long, carefully planned mistakes, that we ended up here we are, and excited about it because I really, really enjoy what I do. But the long and short of it was, by getting fired, I was able to get into this industry and really get into it and understand it and learn how to help people.
Yeah,
and I can't think of anything else I'd rather be doing.
Well, I've heard it said many times, you can't climb a mountain without rough sides, right? I mean, that's all there is to it.
That's right. Life doesn't go in a straight line, Eric.
Yeah, exactly. So being able to pivot, that's fantastic. And North Carolina is beautiful. So I'm a little...
Especially where we live, right?
Yeah, I'm a little jealous. I'll just be honest with you. Just straightforward.
I've never been to Omaha, so...
Well, picture something really, really flat and lots of corn, and that's pretty much it. That really is it. All right, so Doug, what do you do for your clients?
Well, we take them through the process. The name of the podcast is the Liberated Investor Advantage. And that's really kind of a 9-step approach to analyzing and discovering all of the financial decisions that a couple or a retiree may be making. And by using an econometric model that I have been using for quite some time, we're able to give them a one-page report where all of their financial decisions are listed on it, starting with car insurance, going through any business they may own, any savings they may have, any loans they may have, any insurances they may have, any debt they may have. One page. They can see it all on one page. And then by using some proprietary software, we're able to plug all those financial decisions in and then see how they will react to various events happening, such as a sickness or disability or a death or a lawsuit or a marriage. Somebody's got to pay for a wedding. So all those things can be programmed in, and you look at the various scenarios and kind of see how it all comes out. As we age, I mean, I kind of age you right in front of you. And I can turn you in from a 45-year-old into an 80-year-old and see if you got any money left based on the parameters that we decide we want to consider. So it's pretty exciting because for the first time, I think investors, clients can actually learn about how money works and the theories behind what we propose and what we are not pushing, but telling people about. Just this is how things really are.
Yeah.
So then they can make decisions. And what we always find, this is always the truth. It happens every time without any increased cost to them, other than the fee that I charge to do that. All their assets can be realigned, made more effective and efficient without any increased cost, with pretty much a better output.
Nice. So who's your ideal client that you work with then?
I've been looking at that question since I decided to do these podcasts, and the ideal client for me is pretty hard to describe because there's so many other parameters that go into that. Mm-hmm. Ideally, professional husband, wife, a couple of kids with a respectable income. They got to have some kind of an income, and then we can go all the way into want-to-be retirees, close to be retiring, or even retired, and then we can help them out by just doing exactly what I just described.
Now, these clients, I mean, and I know you and I have spoken before, before this podcast. It's not like this is the first time you've ever heard my voice. And I know that one of the things that you want in a client is somebody who wants to change or be successful in that change, whatever that change may be, positive or finding some things that, they have to repair in their finances, or just really clear sailing for meeting those goals. How do you find those clients?
That's a good question, Eric. What we do, we had done before, was the typical seminars and chicken dinners and things like that. And what we found was that people just kind of come in and they're checking you out. They want to do it. Of course, everybody's doing seminars. Everybody's doing, education this and education that. So now it's pretty much referral. It's pretty much where people hear about what I do from other people, and or they see me in public, or they socialize with me and they ask me what we do. And so once I begin to talk about it, they either say, well, I'd like to get more about that. And so we get our first meeting. And the first meeting is strictly just discovery, just to see if, I always say that I don't want to be working, with someone that I don't like to work with.
Yeah.
I've been through that. So what I want to do is I say, I really want to just make sure that we can enjoy this process while we're going through it, because it's going to take quite a while.
Yeah.
There's several meetings involved. I want you to see and hear me talk and see what we are asking you to do. And I want to talk to you and find out what some of your values are and how you approach life. Are you a coachable client? And so if we get A+ on both of those, then I suggest we move forward.
Nice.
Otherwise, we kind of say, look, I don't think this is for you. Or you say, look, I don't think this is for me. And we shake hands and, go on with life. So
yeah,
pretty much just referrals now.
So if you're not doing seminars and things like that, are you doing any type of client education?
All the time.
All the time. All right.
All the time. Client education. I do a weekly email, talk about the economics of the day, what's happening in the world, how it's impacting our finances. The education is teaching money, how money works, what you want to do, what you always want to be aware of. One of the things that I've always said is, the industry is kind of built on tax deferral and accumulation. If that's the right thing to do, then we want to do that. But sometimes there's other areas that are more important. And so I need to educate people on how that money works and why you might want to rethink one of these strategies, showing them that by doing so, they'll actually have a greater economic output.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, Doug, one of the things that I love is your newsletter that you were just talking about. I can't tell you how many newsletters I've received that from people that I don't know at all or whatever. I unsubscribe all the time. My email box is just so full. I love yours. And this last one that I received, A Breath of Fresh Air, I thought it was fantastic. And I love the fact that you include an article about food. It's not all about finance with you. It's not all about hard driving and this is what you need to be doing, blah, blah, blah. It really is, hey, kind of that relationship aspect that you're talking about that you want with your clients. And hey, here's some brief news about some things that happened this last week or the last 2 weeks. But even more important than that, hey, here's an article about food and some good information. So I love that kind of communication with clients.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet. So
what I try to do, again, I always tell people, if we can't have fun doing this or enjoy it, not necessarily fun, but enjoying it, why do it?
Yeah.
I mean, life's a short ride compared to eternity. And so let's make sure that you and I are communicating so that you can see the benefits of following what our suggestions are. That's part of that Liberated Investor Advantage process.
Yeah.
What takes so long to educate all these people on exactly our thinking and why we think this way, and then get them to buy into it. Once they buy into it, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic philosophy, which leads me right to my next question, and maybe you've already answered it, but what is your business philosophy?
I just do the right thing. I mean,
that's easy.
I mean, it's that simple, Eric. You just do the right thing. If you can help people and they understand it and want to get involved in it, then let's do it and make sure that they understand each and every financial decision they've already made, how it's going to work. Because of my vast experience, I've had experience in property and casualty insurance, car and homeowners insurance. I've had experience in life insurance and estate planning. I have experience in investments. I even had a revenue stream for my company for mortgages. I got away from that because it just got too complicated. So I really understand just about all the stuff that goes on. And if I don't, I know where to go to get the answers.
Yeah.
And so by teaching people how money works and how to effectively and efficiently improve their financial position, that's kind of my philosophy. If I can help you and do the right thing for you, then let's go. If we can't do that, let's shake hands and move on in life.
All right. That was painless. I'll tell you what. And the reason I say that is because that was the first half of this podcast, Doug. That's just a little glimpse into you and, what makes you tick business-wise. Now it's time for the personal questions, if that's okay with you.
That's okay.
All right, then let's get started. When you're not working, Doug, what do you like to do for fun?
That's an easy question. As I mentioned earlier, I'm on my second marriage, as is my wife. And what I do for fun is spend time with her. We enjoy each other's company. We do things together. For example, we picked up playing competitive duplicate bridge recently.
Nice.
And we enjoy it. We played yesterday, didn't enjoy it too well because the game was way over our head. There's a lot of really smart people that play that game. We hike and we ski, alpine ski, and out west.
Wow, great.
Yeah. So, and then at one time I was on the Asheville racing team, ski racing team. And she didn't like me doing it. She didn't want me to do it. So what happened was I said, okay, first time I get injured, I'm off. I'm done. So I broke my leg in a race on a giant slalom course, and that was it. And so we just ski for fun now, and we do other things. We are active members in our church, and we try to help people there as best we can.
Yeah.
Jean was a hospice nurse. And she has a wonderful ability to listen, to hear people, and to talk them through some really, really interesting times. So,
man, that's tough. I mean, give her a hug for all of us because that is one heck of a job.
Now, she only has one patient now, and that's me.
Yeah. Well, on that morbid note, let's go to the next question.
I think it's a pretty fun thing.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That's a lot of attention. Hello, nurse, right? That's good stuff.
That's right. We were talking this morning, and one of her daughters called, and her daughter had a pretty bad nosebleed last night, and she's making all these suggestions. And finally, I'm talking to her at breakfast this morning, and she says, all these things. And I said, it's really nice to have you around. I mean, I just enjoy being with her.
Yeah.
I just love it. Some people have noticed one lady that played yesterday in the bridge game brought her husband over and said, I want you to meet these two. These are the most friendly people you'd ever want to meet, and they love each other. After 35 years, I think that's pretty good.
That is very good. All right, next question is, Doug, who is your hero?
This was a question, another question I would be looking at, and I had a hard time coming up with the answer.
Mm-hmm.
But as I see myself growing and maturing, which we hope we're all doing as we move through this life.
Yep.
I find myself more like my dad than I'd ever want to admit to anybody.
Oh boy. Yeah. It's funny how that happens, right?
I don't know, because my dad and I didn't get along. He never understood me, and I never really totally understood him. It was not a warm, fuzzy relationship. And so, but I just see the way he acted, the way he took care of his wife, my mom,
mm-hmm.
and the sisters. I had two sisters, and how he took care of them.
Yeah.
He had a very bad upbringing. His father was an alcoholic, and his mother had to go rescue Dad's dad from bars. And
mm-hmm.
my dad was one of the oldest in the family, and so he was responsible for dinner, which sometimes just amounted to a peanut butter jelly sandwich.
Yeah.
But the longer I go through this, Eric, the better I see him from the eye of maturity.
Yeah.
And that's who I try to act like. I've got two stepdaughters that would get in a fight if somebody called me their stepdad
mm-hmm.
in front of them. So
yeah,
I guess that's kind of who I think.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, man. Who is your favorite person in history, and tell us why?
There's a couple of answers. I think from contemporary history, Ronald Reagan is probably one of the favorite people.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're coming in. He was elected in 1980, and we're coming off some really bad years for the country. And he just said, "Look, this is a great country. We do a lot of wonderful things." He always called it the city on a hill, the shining city on a hill.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, more people would look at our country from that point of view. We could do a lot more.
Yeah.
And there's others too. Eisenhower was one of my favorites. He if he was a general in today's world, and he went to D-Day invasion and had all those bodies flashing all over the screens, he would have been court-martialed.
Mm-hmm.
But he did something that will never be done again, and did it well.
Yeah.
So those are just a couple. John F. Kennedy was kind of one that just reignited the country again, coming
mm-hmm.
off some the slowness of the 50s, and wanted to get the country started again. By the way, that Democrat gave us a tax cut.
Yeah.
So that was another one. And then there's been others escape my memory right now, but those are a couple of them.
Yeah. The folks that you've been talking about, both your hero as your father and the folks that you just said as far as people in history, they were all very successful in a lot of different ways, right? But I want to know what your idea of success is.
My idea of success is to be known for doing the right thing. You can trust Doug.
Mm-hmm.
And Doug's not going to, it doesn't mean I'm not going to make mistakes, because I do.
Mm-hmm.
But, I always answer the phone, always return phone calls. And to me, having somebody say, "Thanks, Doug," and I get that every now and then, is all the pay I need. I mean, It's just what you do. My one daughter is struggling right now financially, and we're helping her out, and she can't get over. She said she did everything she could to make sure her mother didn't marry me. And when I did, she did everything she could do to make it a short marriage. And so I was helping her on something. She just had some major surgery, and so I was talking her through a couple of things.
Yeah.
And she said, "You're the best present I never wanted."
Mm.
And that meant a lot to me, that type of thing. So that my ideal for success is to look at people and see them grow.
Yeah.
See them get through life's hurdles and help them financially by the education and work that I do.
Man, that's awesome. I've got to change gears with this next question because it's really hard to talk in a mic with a lump in your throat. And when you said that about your daughter, that's, you know,
I didn't bring any Kleenex, so
I know, right?
I guess we better move on.
Well, the camera's not on. I can just blubber quietly to myself anyway. Doug, what's one thing that you recommend most to clients, family, or friends? And it can be anything.
Just do the right thing. I mean, just wake up every day and say, whatever I'm going to do the right thing based on my moral values. And that's what I try to do. That's what I do.
Boy, we need more of that, right?
Well, I don't know about that.
I think so. I mean, I think that if people woke up with that mentality, today I'm going to do the right thing. But based on my moral values, I'm going to do the right thing and be the best person I can. I think that'd be a beautiful thing. Yeah.
One of the things that my wife and I do is we spend some quiet time every morning before we get started into the world, the wacky world that we live in. We try to calm down and to take life into perspective and thank for what we have and try to do something about what we think we need to do. So that's pretty much me.
All right. Doug, speaking of you, what's one thing most people don't know about you?
Well, I don't talk about it too much, but, as I said, I dropped out of college, and the girl I chased all through high school and college finally said yes. And so we got married on March 9th, and March 18th, I was getting my hair cut real short by compliments of the U.S. Army.
Oh, boy.
So I had a 9-day honeymoon, and it was about 18 or 19 months later that we finally started living together. So that was quite a haul. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you serving. That's especially right after getting married. that's a double whammy. Wow.
Well, the proposal was funny. She came up to visit me at college one weekend where I was working. And I said, look, we're either getting married next week or I'm going to Las Vegas for 4 days. Now, what do you want? And that was my proposal.
Well, there you go. All right. That's all you really need.
That's it.
All right,
Doug. Get on with it. I'm kind of a bottom line guy, Eric, if you haven't already realized.
I've kind of noticed a trend.
Just tell me what the bottom line is, and if I want to do it, let's do it. If I can't, I'll tell you about it.
Right on. Yeah, that seems to be a theme here. I'm definitely picking that up. So, it's nice. I love the fact that you spend some quiet time with your wife in the morning and kind of get yourself centered and things. But during our days, during our weeks, life happens. And I know this happens for your clients. It happens for every person on this planet. But Doug, when things, whether they're going really, really well and you're getting distracted or things just aren't going that great, what is your mantra, motto, or something that you say to yourself to stay focused and on track?
One of the things that just came to my mind, one of the things that I think about was those early months of my marriage where I was in a third world country and people were trying to kill me. So, and it wasn't pretty. I mean, I wasn't on the front lines or anything like that, but we were living in a very, very third world country.
Yeah.
And so I just stay focused by saying, I got it pretty good. And compared to the world, everybody in this country has it pretty good.
Yeah.
And that just keeps me, thinking about how well we have it here, how blessed we are, so that I stay pretty focused on that. And I've also realized that, life doesn't travel in a straight line. It's what you do with the bumps that determine where you end up.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That kind of keeps me focused.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. All right, Doug, we're getting low on time, and we are just about done with the podcast, your inaugural podcast. You've done fantastic, and I appreciate you being so open with our audience. The next question is, Doug, we're hoping this podcast reaches a ton of people because you have a voice and it needs to be heard. What can the audience look forward to hearing from you about?
Well, I think one of the things they can look forward to is just some fresh thinking. I sent that email out yesterday morning. Goes out automatically because I usually do it the Saturday before. Mm-hmm. And I said, breath of fresh air. And I would like to think that with the experience that I have and the knowledge I have about the industry, that this thing could be a breath of fresh air.
Nice.
Just some new thinking and some education. I have 4 rules of all financial institutions, and we'll get into that as we go through future podcasts.
All right.
But just start thinking about what you're doing with your money.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're in control of it, not somebody else.
Exactly. What are you doing with your money? What is somebody else doing? I mean, you need to know that too, so you can change it, I suppose. So
that's exactly right. Now, because most people give up control of their money way too easy.
Yeah. No, I
way
agree.
too easy.
I agree.
Let other people determine when you can enjoy your wealth. And that's, to me, that's not exactly, all men are created equal, therefore we're free, But it just bothers me that we are so willingly giving up control of our wealth.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. All right. So as people listen to the podcast and they subscribe to it, which is what we're hoping for as well, and they're sharing it with their friends and family, which we're also hoping for, how do they reach out to your office if they want to have this conversation with you?
Well, they can call. Our telephone number is 828-668-0665. They can call me. I'm pretty open. I answer the phone. I return phone calls. My webpage is kind of being rebuilt right now because of some changes. So once that webpage goes live, I'll make it known. It's always on the bottom of my my weekly emails. Or just email me, Doug at theliberatedinvestor.com.
All right. Sounds great. Doug, thank you so much for spending time with me today and having your inaugural podcast. It was fantastic.
Well, thank you, Eric.
And thank you all for listening to the Liberated Investor Advantage Podcast with Doug Alden. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, which I know you haven't because this is the inaugural one, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Doug comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thanks for listening today. For everyone at the Liberated Investor Advantage, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Liberated Investor Advantage Podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.